My name is Hazel Millisham and this is the Light on Leeds podcast. My guest this week is Lucy Ndlovu. She is from the Leeds African Communities Trust. She tells me all about how it began, what the work they do is, where they're based, about their fantastic food hub in the little London centre, about how she's trying to get more communities to join. It's a really interesting conversation and I really enjoyed speaking to Lucy. She's just a delight to talk to and I think you're going to enjoy it. On this episode of Light on Leeds, I have Lucy Ndlovu. Hello, Lucy.
Hi Hazel, how are you?
I am very well, thank you, and I'm very happy that you've come along to speak to me today about Leeds African Communities Trust.
Sure.
So for anybody who doesn't know, Lucy, can you explain to me what is Leeds African Communities Trust and how did it all begin?
Okay, that's a brilliant question. Thank you so much, Hazel. So I'll start from the very top. As you've heard, my name is Lucy Ndlovu. I'm actually the Communications Director of Leeds African Communities Trust. So Leeds African Communities Trust was established in 2020, roundabout when COVID really hit the world, as we know. So
Oh, what a
basically,
time to start.
so I know. So I mean, we started because before we started in March actually, unaware of what was coming. You know, we just thought we needed an organization to bring all the African communities together, and then COVID hit. And within a week of starting, actually, COVID hit. But prior to that, around about December 2019, there'd been some discussions happening, some rumblings about we need to have an organization that brings all the African communities together. We need to work together. So the conversations were being had way before that, but then the launch of it actually happened in 2020. So just to tell you what it is about, it is a legally constituted voluntary community based organization based in Leeds, West Yorkshire. And the whole reason for it is to serve as an umbrella for all the diverse African communities, groups in Leeds, and operate in the city of Leeds, like Leeds City region, not just Leeds City Centre, but it could be Wakefield, it could be further afield. So, like I said, we were registered in 2020, and we do have a few things that we like to look into, things to do with education, things to do with prevention of poverty. So what happened is when we started in 2020, you can imagine, Hazel, our first objective was to look at people's lifestyles and what's going to happen with COVID. And so therefore, when we started, we actually walked into a challenge straight away, and
Yeah, definitely.
that's what took off. That's what it did. Yeah.
Wow. So when you started,
Yeah.
you was it that you what was it that made you decide that it was necessary? So you decided before COVID, it wasn't something that came about
Yeah.
as a response to COVID.
Yeah, I mean, we started before COVID. The conversations were being had before COVID because, as you know,
Yeah.
Leeds is a multicultural city. So when we look at the Caribbean community, for instance, or the West Indian community, sorry to use that word, but West Indian communities, when we look at things like the carnival they've got different communities coming together to put up the West Indian carnival that we know that
Yeah.
happens. So it's not just one country that does it; it's all of them coming together. And so we sat back and we thought, we're such a multicultural city. We have so many African communities. In all honesty, I think we are so far we've got 14 registered with us, but I think we could be more, many, many more. And that could be it could be country based, the countries, people who represent their various countries of origin,
Yeah.
also the different communities they represent. For example, if you look at a community like the Arab women community, it's not based on one country. It's basically based on who they identify themselves to be, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it does.
So we thought, we really needed something to bring all the communities together so that we can work together as a community to be more visible, because people understand Africa as, some people even think it's one country, which is sad
Yeah.
sometimes when you have people saying, "Oh, you're from Africa," and you think it's a continent. We've got 50 something countries. We've got 50 something countries, and we are all so different. We are all so diverse. So it's also a way of educating people who are not aware about the Africa as a continent.
Yeah,
And we
I think that's
wanted
a
to
great
bring
piece of
that.
work to do.
Sorry?
That's a great piece of work to do.
Yeah, it
If
is.
it's great. Everybody needs to have understanding of everybody, don't they?
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
And so when you began,
Yeah.
was it through sort of the people who were involved in the West Indian Carnival? Were you able to kind of see diverse African countries, communities of people coming together for that? And so that was that like a basis for you to begin?
So I think the basis of it was at the time there was some events that happened in December, if I'm not wrong. I think it's a xenophobic events that happened in South Africa,
Yeah.
where people from different countries in South Africa at the time in 2019 were being discriminated against. So discrimination is pretty much everywhere, if you know, by the sounds of it. And so I think people from the community came together and they wanted to be supportive of what was happening in South Africa, and that
Ah,
led to the conversations of, you know what, why don't we then establish something that's based in the UK, for there's a huge African diaspora community in the UK and in Leeds. Why don't we have something where we can actually support not just what we do in this country, but also our motherland? You know, we're all connected back home in one way or the other. You know, you
yeah,
could be a first generation immigrant, you could be third generation, but you're still connected somehow to what's happening in Africa. So I think it's just the world events just brought people together to think outside your box, the box that we live in, you know, or the way we see ourselves. And we just wanted something that we all connect when it comes to pain. And COVID showed us this. We're all interlinked. We're all connected.
yeah,
So if we work together as a community, we'll be able to be more visible, make more changes, and just be have more of an impact, not just within our communities, but within the city at large.
yeah.
I can give an example of what happened. So straight after COVID and lockdown happened, at the time, I think Leeds City Council was sort of it was announced, I think, in the news that, you know, the food hubs started coming up everywhere, you know, to help people who were struggling, who'd been laid off. So we realized in our communities we needed to have not just a normal food hub, but what we call an ethnic food hub,
Hmm.
because in addition to the food hubs where people were going, we also have the different kinds of foods that nourish us based
Yeah.
on our community. So we then set up the food hub at the Little London Centre. And the food hub ran for, in 2020, it ran for about, I believe, 17 weeks. It was
Wow.
funded obviously by Leeds City Council. And then we shut for a little bit and then we started again. So it's things like that where, you know, we were able to actually mobilize different people within the community to volunteer, to come into the food hub, and to also spread the word around to everybody. Come and get some food. You know, I know at the time the people that were get the food that was being given out was not enough in terms of the amount, and also if you're used to having rice and something more substantial, and you go down to just having a can of beans, it obviously does affect your health. It does affect
Hmm.
your body. So we wanted something that would nourish us based on who we are and how we eat, the kind of foods that we eat. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And so as the popularity of your food hub grew,
Yeah.
that obviously meant that you were connecting with more and more families, and I imagine, sort of finding your way more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The more the word got out, you know, at that time, as you can imagine, it was at that time. I'm talking about the first lockdown. We were all scared
Yeah.
of going out, all scared of leaving our doors.
Yeah.
But then, you know, the word got round. So when things opened up a bit within the first few, I can't remember now how it happened, but when things opened up a bit, people now are able to actually get in touch more and say, you know, this has been a life saving thing for me and my family. And can I talk to somebody else about it? What else is it that you're doing? And so we started getting involved with community, other communities and what they are doing. But again, everything was locked down. So a lot of the meetings we attended, a lot of Zoom meetings, you know, I can tell
Yeah.
you, I must have done 100, honestly, thousands of Zoom meetings, you know, just to get to know the communities, because nobody was meeting anybody. But at least that way we were getting the word out there that we exist. We're here to make an impact. We're here to promote your good work to everybody. So this is not about a group of 5 or 6 trustees. No, this is about what you community, you the community, what you're actually doing, and the good work that you do, because there's a lot of work that communities do that people don't know. So we're
Yeah.
here to
Yeah.
help them shout out what they do, and give them credit where credit is due, basically. Yeah.
And as you started out as a food hub, and like you say, people came to you and said how helpful it was.
Yeah.
Did that sort of lead to you finding out what other things people needed?
Yeah,
And
yeah. So the thing that happened, actually, another thing that happened round about that time, so much was going on, was when the George Floyd thing happened in
yeah,
May 2020, right? Yeah.
I think it was,
Eh,
yeah,
yeah, and because of that, I think obviously a lot of Africans are black. Let's put it that way. So the black community. So in addition to being an African community, we also have the black element, the identity as a black person, and everything that comes with that construct.
yeah.
So then we decided to hold a podcast. So we were doing, so not podcast, webinar. We were holding webinars anyway about different things that affect the communities. But the one that we really wanted to do was to address the whole discrimination and racial discrimination that had happened in America, but also that had happened here. And we found that by speaking to not just the African community, but by speaking to our own um, black community, black people within the UK, there was an appetite for having this webinar. So we held a webinar. I believe it was in around, I think, June 2020, and this
Hmm.
was well attended. We had, I think, we had um, school representatives, we had the police representative, we had the educationist representative, we had people talking about what had happened, and I think there was an awareness that discrimination happens, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
And then now is, how can we help these communities that are going through this, which was really, really good. We were able to have those open conversations, and this is something I don't think we would have been able to do prior to, if we hadn't set up this group, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
so your webinar was very popular. You had lots of people
yeah,
joining in.
yeah, yeah.
And are you still doing webinars? Is that something that you're still
Yeah,
involved in?
yeah, we still do webinars. I mean, now it's better because now we we are meeting in person. But what's
Yeah.
happening now is, if we feel there's a certain topic that the community needs to know about, we then send out a message and saying we're hosting a webinar about this topic. So I'll give you, for example, we've had webinars about, well, some of them are quite relevant to the times that we live in. Webinars to do with repatriation, for example. If someone, people lose their lives in this country and they come from Africa, how do we send the bodies back? What are communities doing about that? Different countries do these things differently.
Yeah.
So we've had webinars about loss and grief and how to cope, when you lose a loved one here, what happens? Because if you're not originally from this country, the process is obviously looks very different, because a lot of people, they want to get buried back home, wherever home is, you see. So
Yeah.
what does that process look like if you're not from here and you don't want to be buried in this country? So we've had webinars about that. We've had webinars about male health, I think it was prostate cancer, I think we had webinars about, and that's because statistically they proved that it affects more black men than any other sort of any other race. So we wanted
Really?
to raise that awareness. Yes, we wanted to raise that awareness. So anything that we find that is relevant to the community, we will then look for speakers and for people to come in and talk to us about it, because people don't people know this thing, they know about these topics, but sometimes they lack the source to, where do I get this information that is practical or something that is useful, that is for me and I can relate to it. So that's what we
Of
try to
course.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you have people who come to you with ideas,
Yes, yeah.
and
This
themes for
these
you to
are all.
talk?
That's right, Hazel. These are all ideas that people have come to us with. The founders, just online, and the founders through different channels, and said, "We think this would be key for your community." The last one I believe was to do with education, adult education. We were approached by an organization that offers adult education in Leeds. Again, I think it's fully funded, and there is some sort of criteria to meet, but it's for people who want to go back to education, not necessarily high. We're not talking A levels, GCSE sort of education. It could be anything. It could be sewing, it could be knitting, and they say that we believe this would be good for your community. Should there be people in your community who want to learn a new skill, learn a new tool, and they're not in a position to do so? So yeah, that's how we get found by different organization approaches for that. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you talked about the food hub, obviously
Yeah.
it being so necessary during COVID, but
Yeah.
that is something that you still carry on. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. We're still doing it now. It's not the same as we did it during COVID. I mean, the differences now is there's a bit of a fee. I think it's about £1 to be a member. We're still at
Yeah.
Little London community centre. You pay £1 to be a member, and for every visit you pay £3, and it's every Friday. I believe it's between 2 to 4 p.m. You pay £3, but for your £3 you get food worth about £15 to £20.
Wow, it's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, so it's a saving for the families that really really need it. And as we know right now, everybody needs that helping hand. So to
Yes.
make it more sustainable, they've had to charge for it. But as I said, in 2020 there wasn't a charge. It was just like, come and just get what you want, and we'll give it to you. But now obviously it looks like it's something that will be with us for a long long time. I don't think
Yeah, that's brilliant.
yeah, I don't think
I mean, it's terrible that people have to use them, but it's brilliant
exactly.
that there's somebody like you there to
Yeah.
support people.
Yeah.
Um, and do you get help from organisations with the stock and things that you need?
Yeah, so we do have a lot of help from, I would say, Leeds City Council obviously work with us as an organization. We've got different organizations, like in the past we've had CC Continental. It's a multi-ethnic food shop in Leeds. I don't know if you're aware
Hmm.
of it. We've
I
had,
am, yeah.
yeah, we have organizations like Hamara. So there are different organizations that come and help with that. If they've got something to give, we've even had Morrison's giving food. So in anyone really, individuals contributing, donating what they've got. We had people donating. Sorry, we had people donating sanitizers and gloves and face masks. When we really needed them.
Mm.
And now it's mainly food. I think obviously we're not doing that anymore. So yeah, we've got quite a few organizations that have stepped up and said, how can we help? What can we do? And even for us within the trustee board, we've had obviously we all volunteer our time, but we have full-time jobs. So we've had people who've come and said, my place of employment would like to donate something and contribute, or whether it's financial or whether it's money, whether it's how can they help to how
Yeah.
can they help the community. So we've had that quite a bit, yeah, which has been it's so useful. It's so useful. Yeah.
I imagine it is, yeah.
Mhm.
And so, is there a place that people can find out about you, or like arrange to come and help in any way, donate
Yeah.
food or money or
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah, so we are mainly on Facebook. We are working on a website, if I'm really honest. We've been working on it for a while, but I think I'm hoping. I mean, being part of the communication team, I'm really hoping it should be done by the end of this month. Because we have so much we want to reach more people. So for now, we're on Facebook, which is Leeds African Communities Trust. You'll find us. And for those who are wanting to donate anything or contribute, they can just walk into Little London Community Centre on a Friday between 2 to 4, and they'll get to see one of the trustees who volunteers there as well.
That's
So
absolutely fantastic.
yeah,
And you did mention to me earlier that you are actively trying to get more communities to
yeah,
join you.
yeah,
Um, is that quite a difficult task, or as you're getting more well known, is that
yeah.
becoming easier?
It's becoming easier. It was very difficult during COVID because we were doing so much work, but we couldn't get to the community. So it was pretty much word of mouth. Tell your community, tell your people, we're here to help. It is getting a little bit easier now, obviously, with opening up, and we are meeting in person, face to face. We've had meetings face to face. the interesting thing is, even as trustees, we hadn't met for almost a year. So we hadn't met in person. We didn't know how
Wow,
we looked like because everything was set up online, which is fun, isn't it?
it
Like,
is. It's really funny
yeah,
when
you
you
meet
finally meet people in real life.
you meet someone, you're like, oh, you're taller than I thought. It was so bizarre, meeting someone after you're working with them almost on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So it's been really good that we've managed to meet. But in terms of the communities, yes, we are still reaching out to communities. We are currently also involved with the Leeds 2023 City of Culture,
Oh, brilliant.
because as I said, as a group, what we're trying to do is to get everybody involved. So we've had a few workshops, which hopefully they'll go through and they'll be part of the Leeds 2023 City of Culture. And the workshops around dance and art and music, this kind of things. Again, it's not based on one country or based on one language. It's basically different countries coming together to be part of the community, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Well, it's great.
Yeah,
I'm really excited about Leeds 2023, and I think
I
it'll
know.
help showcase lots of parts of the city and lots of groups that
Yeah,
perhaps we've not heard of before.
yeah. So we do need more people to join us. If I can also mention another thing that we've been involved with, if you just bear with me, I did make a few notes just so I don't forget. Um, so the other thing we've done is we've started an African movie showing in Hyde Park in Leeds.
Ah,
And again, it's in collaboration with Hyde Park Cinema. And again, it's to showcase the movie, the African film. Let's call it that way. The African film is industry is big. It's quite
yeah,
big. I think now, we watch them on Netflix. Like the
yeah,
Nollywoods and the ones from South Africa and things like that. But it's actually quite a big industry, and it was felt within the community when we did a survey this year that it would be nice for the community to have a place where they can actually go and sit, just like a normal mainstream film,
yeah,
and go watch it. And so we're working in collaboration with Hyde Park cinemas in Leeds for that. So we get viewings. I think it's once a month. And again, they get advertised, and we ask people to come in and view them. And it's different. It's a different setup because when halfway through we stop, we have a chat, we discuss the themes and the issues around it. So it's a different kind of, it's a viewing with a discussion sort of thing.
yeah.
Um,
That sounds fantastic. I'll make sure that I put lots of links in the podcast notes that people
yeah,
can join
yeah,
in and find out about the things that you're mentioning. But can
yeah.
I ask you, Lucy, how did you get involved in the first place?
Okay, for me, I think I've always been a community person. It's weird because you don't know you are until someone says you are. So that's, I was like, I'm a community person. Like, yeah, your fingers are in every little thing. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I guess I am. So someone reached out to me and said, because I have a background in, at the time I was actually doing my master's in PR and communication. So
Oh,
that
okay.
is my background professionally. I work in comms, and someone reached out to me and they said, well, and it was a friend actually. She reached out and she said, we're trying to set this thing up, and I think we would really like you to come on board and volunteer as a trustee, and also to bring your skills and contribute to this. And I said, of course, yes. It sounds amazing. Anything that will bring people together to promote that cohesion for me is key. We are, like we say, we're stronger together. So I said yes, and that's how I got involved, and I've been there ever since.
Oh, wow. Well, it sounds like you're the perfect person in the perfect role.
Oh, thank you, Hazel.
Lucy, I always ask guests
Yeah.
three questions.
Okay.
The first question being, what would you say is great about the city of Leeds?
Okay. So for me, I've lived in Leeds for a long time, and what I love about Leeds is it seems to have everything that you need. So I've been in Leeds when I was a student. I
Yeah.
got married in Leeds. I've had my children in Leeds. So for me, Leeds to me is my second home, so to speak. It's got everything that you need, whatever level you are at in your life, all the way from studying to marriage to kids. It served me well. Let's put it that way. So I feel like it's got all that. And again, like I said, it is a multicultural city. We are many people, different backgrounds, and it's good to see the rainbow of colors and the varieties, and this is obviously depicted in so many things in the restaurants that we have, night outs, so it's a really great city. I actually absolutely love Leeds. I say that all the time, and I even have a nickname for people call me Lucy Leeds,
Perfect.
because I am always promoting Leeds. My friends who live in London, they're like, Lucy Leeds, Lucy. I'm like, yeah, of course. It's a great place.
I absolutely agree. That's one of the main things that I love about the city, and it just
Yeah.
adds just so much joy to everything and
Yeah.
interest. And I can remember
Mhm.
last summer I was reading lots of books set in Nigeria,
Yeah.
and I kept reading about jollof rice, and it sounds amazing. And I was like, oh, can't wait to try jollof rice. And then I went to the Beeston Festival. I live in Beeston,
Yeah.
and there was a stall selling jollof rice. And I was like, oh my God, I'm finally going to get to try it. And it was
Oh,
delicious. But I love the fact that
yeah.
I can read about something in a different country, and then
Yeah.
that country is represented here in my city, and I can taste that food. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's not that it's big and small. That's the thing about Leeds. I can't describe it. Like you
Yeah.
said, what you read about something when you're not in the country, and then you come back, you can find it won't be difficult to find what you want. So in the
Yeah.
sense that it's a big city, but also it's easy. You can access what you need quite easily. That's what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
yeah,
And if you had to choose something, Lucy, that is
yeah.
not so great about the city, what would you choose?
Okay. I think the thing that I find a bit how is someone would do something about it, and I don't know who this is sometimes I find the little side streets are quite unclean. That sounds bizarre, but I don't know if that is maybe it's a job for city council. I don't know. I'm always saying, who's responsible for cleaning? Because we have quite a few, in the city center. I mean, I know you're familiar with it, but if you decide to cut across, there's some little side streets in there. I'm like, who's responsible for cleaning this? I think that's how I feel. That's the only thing I can think of. I hope it's not. I hope, I hope whoever is listening can tell me who cleans them. But
Yeah, so if anybody's listening and you know who is responsible for cleaning the side streets,
yeah,
please do something about
yeah. So that's the only thing. That's the only thing I could think of. Honestly, everything else is great apart from that.
That's okay. That's not too bad, and I'm sure we can do something about it. Um, if somebody had lived in Leeds for a very long time,
Yeah.
would you be able to tell them about something that you consider to be a hidden gem that they might never have heard of?
Hmm. I would say there's a walk along the canal. It's all now being developed and it's all changed a lot. I don't know if you know about that side of Leeds Hazel. When you walk from the train station,
Yes,
probably
Water
walking
Lane.
across
That sort of
yeah,
area.
Water Lane. Is that the name? Yeah. It's a really good walk. I used to use it when I used to work in Leeds. I used to get off the train station and just take some steps down and just walk along there. It's quite peaceful, and I can't describe why. I just like it. It's a really nice walk. It's quite a long walk. I think it goes all the way to Amley as well. But
Yeah,
obviously, I didn't go that far. And so to me, that's a little hidden gem. And they have developed that side of the city center quite a bit now. So quite a few restaurants around that place where you can sit outside.
yeah,
So yeah, to me I like that. That's what I can say. I can't think of anything else, but yeah, that's
yeah. That's a really good one.
yeah.
And Lucy, what will you be doing with the rest of your day today?
So I'm working from home. So truth be told, I'm gonna go back to work sooner or later in about an hour or so. And with it being a Friday, it's my sister's birthday today. So shout
Oh, happy
out to
birthday
my
to your
sister.
sister.
So yeah, so shout out to Annie if she gets to listen to this podcast. And so we're going round to hers later on for some cake, some barbecue. The weather's good, it's not raining.
Well, that's the
Um
main thing.
yeah, that's the main thing. Yeah, it's good weather. So it's just having a good time tonight and some dancing, catching up. It's good that we can do that now. We've missed it
Yeah,
so
it really
much.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any
nice to get
excuse.
back to some kind of normal.
Yeah, any excuse to get together. We don't even need a birthday. We don't need a reason anymore just to hang out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Lucy, thank you so very much for coming along today and telling me about Leeds African Communities Trust. I'll put lots of details in the podcast notes that people can get involved with
Yeah.
everything that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hazel, and thank you for having me. This has been.
And thank you and enjoy your sister's birthday.
I will. Thank you.
It was illuminating chatting to Lucy and Ndlovu about the Leeds African Communities Trust. As usual, there's loads of links in the podcast notes that you can get involved or find out more. Lucy requested to feature an Afrobeats track, and I follow the brilliant group TC and the Groove Family on Bandcamp. They have kindly let me feature their awesome track, Let's Start. Their music is inspired by the Afrobeat pioneered by Tony, Alan, and Fela Kuti. Let's Start is about moving forward as a stronger, unified society for all, those who seek justice and peace, standing in solidarity with the Black Lives Movement. You can catch them playing live at the Brudenell Social Club on June the 1st. I think you're going to really enjoy it.
What's happening in this great city? We'll tell you. But wait a minute.
We have all this love to give, so let's start.